Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy over here is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy. And thank you so much for stopping by. And man, do we have a show for you today, because the gun controllers are out. They are everywhere. We are finding them in the wild, and that is what we're going to break down. We've got a few things that you need to see. So do me a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and make sure you share this out, because the whole point of The Second Legacy is to provide you information to counter this dramatic onslaught against our Second Amendment rights. And this content today is brought to you by AccuFire. Now, AccuFire is a friend of the channel this month. They sponsored all of the content, and they provide some incredible options to help you see a little clearer the next time you're at the range and help you step up your game so that you can be that defender of freedom utilizing that Second Amendment. Thank you so much to AccuFire. But now, let's get into this. Tim, I know we've got some clips, but before we get that and before we make your head explode, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, knowing that I'm going to have a headache here shortly. How about you?
Man? You're going to have... Oh, I'm doing great. See, I already looked at these clips, so I already have a headache. But you know what? I think it's only fair, Tim. How would you like to treat the viewers today first? You can choose the order. Do you want to talk about Karine Jean-Pierre on the podium of the White House, or do you want to talk about Randi Weingarten, the leader of the teachers union? You can choose.
Let's take it to the White House press room and KJP and her less than intelligent remarks regarding the president's policies. Or would-be policies?
Let the cat out of the bag a little bit here, didn't she? All right, Mr. Producer. Well, it's Tim's choice, so could you please play clip number 1, and then we are going to break it down.
Not just banning the sale and manufacture of semi-automatic weapons, but further than that, confiscation.
Let me just be very clear. What we're talking about, AR-15s, these assault weapons ban, they are weapons of war, and they should not be on the streets across the country, in our communities. They should not be in schools. They should not be in grocery stores. They should not be in churches. That's what the president believes. And he has done more than any other president the first 2 years on an executive order. And as you know, we all know how government works. There's only so much that he can do. And so now it's time for Congress to do the work. And he's happy to sign. Once that happens, he's happy to sign that legislation that says, okay, we're going to remove assault weapons. We're going to have an assault weapons ban.
Oh, you can't say that out loud, Karine. That's not, you're supposed to do incrementalism and boil that pot and that frog until it slowly dies. You're not supposed to come out and say remove them from the American public, because that would be, Tim, what's that word?
I think it's called confiscation. Look,
I think that is called confiscation.
Every time there's a national tragedy, they run out in front of the first camera they can find and start calling for bans. And every once in a while, they feel really emboldened and they go straight for the jugular. They want to go all in. And apparently they're going all in again. Think they have the political capital to do this. Now, the House isn't going to do anything. They might even have a hard time getting it through the Senate. But it's just, she said the quiet part out loud. And once again, in the last few years, we've seen this constant targeting of the AR-15. And we've said this in previous shows. According to FBI statistics, every year, less than 500 rifles are misused in crime in the United States. 500. Now, of that 500 or less, typically less, they don't really break it down, but I would guess well less than 100 misuses of firearms are of the AR-15 type. So again, it's a statistical zero. Now, that's not to downplay the crime that is committed and those that are injured or lose their lives, but we live in a society of 330 million people. There are evil people out there. There are people out there that do harm to others in all manner of different ways. The AR-15 isn't even in the top 1,000 of things that are used to commit harm or crime against somebody else. It's a statistical zero. More people die by hands and feet, alcohol, driving unsafely, just name it, swimming pools, falling downstairs. There's so many different ways people hurt themselves or others that aren't with the misuse of an AR-15, yet all this pearl clutching over the AR-15. But make no mistake, which even though she invoked the name of the AR-15, they want to ban anything that loads itself. If you take a look at Biden's own website, he breaks it down. They do want to ban everything, and they do want to confiscate everything. His website talks about buying back, the government buying back your gun. Well, you didn't sell it to me. So what are you buying back? And you don't buy back rights. It's correct. The whole thing is just asinine, yet people fall for it.
That's an excellent word. Asinine is an incredible word. Now, I want to reiterate something that Tim just said so you guys can hear it from me as well. We aren't downplaying any type of tragedy. That's not the point. The point is you just had a press secretary for the White House, the president of the United States, openly say remove a firearm from the population. You're talking about confiscation of a Second Amendment right. Like Tim said, every once in a while that mask will come down. When they think they have the emotional capital and they won't have any resistance, you're going to hear what they truly want. Now, here's the piece, and we're going to hit this in a second on the other end of this next clip. They don't have the juice to do this. They don't have the constitutional support and backing to do this, and not to mention the fact that it is incredibly un-American and there's no support popularly for that. But that's not going to stop them from doing these things. For example, let's go to the second clip, and then we're going to hit on the other side of why this will not come to pass. Mr. Producer, could you hit number 2, please?
Today, we renew our call for common sense gun safety legislation, including a ban on assault weapons. This is an epidemic. It's an epidemic that our great nation must solve. And how many lives will be shattered before we have the courage to do what Scotland did, what Australia did, what New Zealand did, what other great democracies do? We must solve this epidemic.
All right, I gotta jump in. I'm sorry, I couldn't even hold off. There are so many things with that clip. For you guys who don't know, that's Randy Weingarten. Randy Weingarten is the leader of the teachers' unions. Okay, this is a big player in the Democrat side of the aisle. That's why we played that clip. There's a few things here, and I'm just going to hit on them real quickly. One, did you notice the body language in that clip? That seemed very historical. It reminded me of something. I can't really say what it was, but it reminded me of something. Very, very effective body language. Very, very posture, very stoic, very just emotional. Not to mention the fact that she invoked historical bans and confiscations and mandatory buybacks from other great democracies. They're letting the cat out of the bag. And the reason that we're showing you this is because the whole premise of them saying, well, we don't want to take your guns. That is just right-wing conspiracy nonsense. We just want common sense gun safety reform. It's an epidemic. She stayed on message perfectly. The hive mind was pleased. But the whole point here is they are not after a common sense gun control regulation or common sense solution. They are here to infringe as far as they possibly can because they don't want firearms in our nation. The reason they hit the AR-15 is because it's a financial boon which strengthens the gun world. This is all economic based towards their end goal. Now, before my rant starts, Tim, jump in here. I know you got some.
Yeah, she needs to shut her mouth. I mean, again, here she is calling it an epidemic. An epidemic. Less than 500 people die by rifles of any type in the United States every year. And yet she's calling it an epidemic. This is just
Tim?
grandstanding. This is yanking on people's heartstrings. This is political posturing. They know if they pass another assault weapons ban, and let's say that they ban AR-15s, AKs, whatever they want to ban, and they go around and forcibly remove them from homes. We won't get into the mechanics of that, right? Let's just presume that they somehow accomplish it. You know what that's going to do? Nothing. The next week, I guarantee you somebody will go out and do something stupid with a gun, and then they'll say, well, it didn't work. We're going to have to do something else. But when they try something else, they're not going to give you back your stuff. They're just going to keep banning more and more stuff. They're going to keep passing more and more laws that they don't even enforce most of the time.
Yeah.
It's so infuriating listening to these people talk because all this, hand wringing and nervousness and pearl clutching over assault weapons, and they're not even in the top 1,000 of things that are used for people to hurt each other with or even hurt themselves. There's so many different things out there. It's oh my gosh. I always love to say this, hands and feet, according to the FBI, are misused more times to kill people in the United States than rifles of any type.
Right.
Why aren't they trying to ban hands and feet?
Thing. Why aren't they trying to ban handguns? I mean,
well,
honestly,
handguns.
Tim,
right. Well,
because handguns are the leading cause. It's almost like that'd be too far of a reach right now because then it would be unreasonable.
Precisely.
That's kind of what we're trying to drive into. They will never go after something that everyone has. They will never go after something they're not going to gain popular support of and they can't marginalize and demonize. This is a move of the left. They've been doing it for 100 to 200 years in progressive Europe. This is not a new thing. This is an old and recycled, tried and true thing. The terminology that coined, the marketing terms, epidemic that you just hit on, this is something that they do to invoke a specific response. The reason that they go epidemic, they're not stupid. They know the CDC and the health organizations can all of a sudden have bureaucratic power over that because it's health after all. We call it an epidemic. Now that's what they're doing. Tim and I have obviously got some pretty strong emotions about it because we see it and look at it all the time. But now let's talk about how what they want to achieve and how what they want to come to pass is going to meet resistance because of the people watching this video right here. So right now, I'm going to lay out the groundwork for you of where it sits in Congress. They have the Senate. They don't have enough to come over a filibuster, just like they didn't last year when they passed a 2022 assault weapons ban. We said it on multiple different channels. I think Tim and I both put out videos on our channels about it's not going anywhere. The Senate doesn't have the guts to go over the filibuster. They don't have the votes for it. The Democrat leader in the Senate hadn't even brought it up, not to mention they won't bring up anything this year. Their House Republicans are not going to vote and pass it because McCarthy only has a one vote of confidence, and if he brings it up, he's going to get it. There's multiple reasons why you have stopped this, but it's not stopping them from pearl clutching, wringing their hands, and making as much donations and noise as possible.
Yep, and they're going to continue down this path. And one other thing I want to add to the Senate is even if they wanted to try to do something in the Senate, they don't have the votes to get around a filibuster, and they also don't have the support to bust the filibuster. There's no way Manchin and possibly Sinema would vote to nuke the filibuster. So as you said, it's going nowhere. So why they're all in on this one, I don't know. Maybe they got something planned. I mean, these folks literally sit around in think tanks all day long waiting for the next tragedy to transpire. Meanwhile, they're arranging their battle plans. So as soon as it happens, boom, they can pull the trigger, virtually speaking, so to speak, and they can immediately try to enact whatever it is concoction they came up with in these think tanks. These assault weapons bans they're always putting forward, they were written decades ago. They keep moving them around and jostling the pieces based on public opinion at the time. So you'll see some that are highly restrictive, ban everything, mandatory confiscation, buybacks. And then you'll have other proposals where it's just, well, let's just do a cosmetic ban. If you have them, you can keep them. That was the last one. I guarantee you the one they're going to push now, because apparently they think they have the political capital, this one's going to be an outright ban and potentially confiscation of certain types of firearms. But when that fails, the next time they bring it up, depending on which way the wind's blowing, they'll probably water it down again. Well, if you got 30-round magazines, you can keep them. If you just put a thumbhole stock on it, it's okay. If you have an AR-15, you can keep it, just no new ones. They go back and forth, but they have multiple versions already written, so they can immediately throw it out there when emotions are high, and they can try to force something through in the Congress.
Right, but that's again, to reiterate, the reason of doing this video is kind of twofold. One, we wanted to show you guys what they're doing. We wanted to show you the hive mind. We wanted to show you them slipping the mask down a little bit to show the ghoul behind that mask. But the other thing is, you're stopping them. It's not me and Tim stopping them. It's you guys stopping them. Your representatives are stopping them. The Lauren Boeberts, the Thomas Masseys, the Chip Roys, the Jim Jordans, they are stopping them. Now, let's throw Matt Gaetz in there for fun. But they are stopping them across the board because of who you're putting in office. This can all be stopped by you putting the people in office. That's the important piece here, because the way that you fight back against this is twofold. I like twofold right now. I don't know why. First, you hit the state and local levels. You make sure you have the right people in there to do what you need to do and organize in that area. The second thing that you do is you vote in a federal election. To be quite honest with you, you may have reservations about that. Do it anyway. Just saying.
Just about your twofold. I want to be clear. I'll circle back with you. Last two press secretaries. Okay. So anyway,
circle back,
outstanding points. Outstanding points. And folks, I can't stress enough, even though we're fairly confident they can do nothing with this right now, you still need to contact your representatives. You still need to support gun rights organizations like Gun Owners of America. It's critical that we stay politically engaged and active. We can't just assume that they won't do anything. Right now, it would appear, doing a calculated assessment of where things are politically, it doesn't appear they're going to get anywhere with this one, but you never know. So you have to be on the offensive and constantly contact those representatives and let them know phone calls are the best way. But if you don't have time for a phone call during the day, you're at work or whatever, send an email. But I can assure you, I've been in D.C. when those phone calls come in, And it is a showstopper. They have to scurry like crazy to take those calls, and they have to take notes on every single opinion that somebody shares so that it's captured and presented to the representative. No matter which way you go in terms of your opinion, it still gets presented to the representative. So anyway, with all that being said, folks, thank you for watching The Second Legacy. If you'd like to be part of our live call-in show, there is a Google Doc link in the description below. Follow that link, fill out the document, come on the show, ask your question. We look forward to it. It means a lot to us, and we really enjoy engaging with you folks on a personal level. With that being said, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.